Good afternoon, everyone. I pray all is well. We've been inundated with so much trouble and so much injustice, and I just wanted to pause and deliver a word from heaven on this blessed day. If you would turn quickly with me to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. And I'm going to read it from the English Standard Version. And it reads, "The oracle that Habakkuk the prophet saw. O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear, or cry to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see iniquity, and why do you idly look at wrong? Destruction and violence are before me. Strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, so justice goes forth perverted. Look among the nations and see, wonder and be astounded." The grass shall wither, the flower shall fade, the word of our God shall stand forever. On January the 7th, 2023, at approximately 8:21 p.m., 5 Memphis Police Department officers stopped Tyre Nichols on suspicion of reckless driving at the intersection of Rains Road and Ross Road. After being pulled over, Nichols was forcefully removed from his car and immediately beaten. Nichols escaped briefly and fled while complaining of shortness of breath. When officers caught up with Nichols, they beat him for about 3 minutes, punching and kicking him in the head and striking him on the back with a baton while he was restrained. 3 days later, Nichols died after pleading to go home and crying for his mother. He died after laying on the cold pavement for 20 minutes without any medical assistance from any of the first responders. He died after being beaten like a pinata. He died by black officers, which racism deniers will use to defend systemic police forces, systemic racism that's embedded in our police departments. The police force requires officers to assimilate for acceptance regardless of their race, their gender identity, and their gender and religion. In other words, the shield and the police uniform trumps one's race. Those officers felt that they could savagely beat Tyre because of his race and socioeconomic status. America at large does not care about urban problems because they are depicted as the black community's problems. We are desensitized by incidents like the death of Nichols because it's as American as American Pie. As shocking as Nichols' death is, it's still nothing new. Blacks have hung for trees like leaves in America. Blacks have had their heads burst open like watermelons in America. Blacks have been treated as guinea pigs by doctors and scientists in America. Blacks are the last hired, but the first fired in America. Blacks are told to sing Kumbaya, but preyed upon by our own government. Our communities are overwhelmed with drugs that we don't fly in. Our people are raised and inherit trauma from being black that no one fails to address or acknowledge. The country waited and anticipated riots to demonize angry youth who are overwhelmed and tired of the fake outrage, the failed attempts at police reform, and empty speeches and disingenuous politicians. Now, I don't think, I'm glad that the youth did not ride. I don't condone riding because it changes nothing. It accomplishes nothing. Rioting is only a mass temper tantrum of a people that seeks to be heard and felt. Rioting vocalizes the anger, despair, and oppression of a people. Rioting gives instant gratification, but true change takes time. True change takes determination, mental fortitude, faith, stamina, and patience. True change requires voting, political participation, and using your words to demand change. Therefore, I don't agree with the rioting, but I understand if it had occurred because Lady Liberty only hears us when we articulate our pain through violence. As a result, I come to those that are currently suffocating. You are tired this morning of waiting to exhale. You are tired of waiting for a chance to catch your breath, to breathe. Many of you this morning cannot breathe. You got bills on your neck. You got sickness on your neck. You got co-workers, neighbors, and haters all on your neck. You have disobedient and disrespectful children on your block and neck that won't allow you to live in your house peacefully. You got family members, folks in the street, and fake friends all on your neck. You got a government that demands taxes but denies you fair representation. You have elected officials that use dog whistle racial epithets for campaign slogans. You have Congress that confuses anti-poverty programs with black programs. Therefore, we paint problems black that we don't want to address. All day you pray for relief because Satan is on your neck. You holler and beg, but nothing seems to change. You woke up this morning during a pandemic and inflation, wondering how long before God would move, how long before God would speak, how long before he will deliver. It is a question that is asked out of pain. It is a question that is asked out of a faith that's under duress. Come and walk with me around the text, because we find the prophet Habakkuk burdened by his revelation and message. He is burdened because he wonders, how can this be? How could righteous Josiah die at the hands of a pagan king? How could Jehoiakim, an incestuous, lawless blasphemer, be the son of Josiah and Judah's new king? In other words, Habakkuk is wondering, how could a country that elected Obama also elect Trump? How could a country that mourned the assassination of Dr. King also fight for the removal of Black history? How can a Republican Party that champions family values, acts inhospitable to migrants, tolerate and perpetrate racism, sexism, classism, and hate? He's disgusted by injustice within the land. And if you have a heart, then it breaks at the sight of injustice. Your heart should break to schools that don't educate. Your heart should break to see Dollar General hospitals that charge you for inadequate health care. Your heart should break at a criminal justice system that favors justice without rehabilitation, grace, and mercy. Your heart should break at a society that was founded on a racial caste system. Therefore, it seeks to maintain status quos instead of making change. Your heart should break at white folks taking Black folks' lives without remorse. But your heart should also break this morning at Pookie and Ray Ray that destroys families and our communities for $1 by feeding our people crack cocaine. You should be mad when we kill each other also without remorse, because injustice is injustice. Habakkuk lives in a time and place where he has a morally corrupt, ineffective, narcissistic king. In other words, he had an orange-faced president that we called Trump. He had a king that tweets but can't read, a king that's not focused on his people but enlarging his own fortune and fame, a king that divides instead of uniting. He had a government that didn't serve him. He had a military force that didn't protect or serve him. He had churches that didn't lead the lost to the light but focused on programs to fatten pockets instead of providing comfort. Out of despair, Habakkuk accuses God of forcing him to endure injustice for tolerating wrongdoing. Habakkuk says, I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing about the laws of the land because the laws don't protect or serve me. The laws don't bring me comfort or justice. I'm denied justice. I'm tired of waiting for stuff to get better. So Habakkuk asks God, how long? The question is asked out of fatigue, pain, and a state of emergency. On August 28, 1963, Dr. King shared with the world that he had seen a day of a post-racialized American society. On February 7, 1964, Sam Cooke performed a hit song entitled "A Change Is Going to Come" on the Johnny Carson show. Today, people are decrying that they are tired and sick of waiting for things to change. Habakkuk was tired and angry because he had grown tired of waiting for his prayers to be answered. And for things to change. Blacks have become angry by the slowness of justice and the inaction and the seemingly inaction of God. And if I could be honest this morning, I'm angry because of those that don't have food to eat. I'm angry because the only true opportunity for urban youth is crime. I'm angry because the privilege questions the source of my anger while telling me that if I'm unhappy, that I can go back to Africa. And so I got to tell somebody that if you think that I need to go back to Africa because I'm unhappy, I'm not going back, especially empty-handed. My ancestors were stolen from their land and brought over. You migrated here to escape persecution and for opportunity. Mine was brought to work without pay. You were given land and grants for schools and businesses. Mine was confined to a land in order to work for free. Yours got rich off the blood, sweat, and tears of my ancestors. I don't care how you feel because I ain't going back. I won't leave a country that was built by mine, especially empty-handed. You want me to leave? Then pay me what you owe me. I want my overtime. I want my vacation pay, my PTO pay, and all my back time bonuses. Give me all the gold in Fort Knox. Then I'll go. Give me what you owe me. Then I'll go. But I won't go empty-handed. Give me the liberty I fought for. Give me the equality that I've earned. I've earned the right to be angry. Matter of fact, God commands me to be righteously angry. In Ephesians 4:26, the Apostle Paul tells us to be angry, but sin not. There are certain situations that require one to respond with anger. Righteous anger sends one to their knees in prayer for directions and words to say. Righteous anger sends you to the polls to vote. Righteous anger sends you to stand up and speak up. Righteous anger causes one to pray for injustice instead of cursing, picking up a gun, or fighting. Be angry, beloved, but sin not. In other words, anger is different different than being mad. Mad is being overwhelmed and insanely controlled by anger. Mad folks burn down their own communities. Mad folks riot and burn down their own houses and businesses. Mad folks do things like that. I'm not calling you to be mad. I'm calling you to righteous anger. But wait. Waiting didn't bring us the Civil Rights Act. Waiting didn't free the slaves. Waiting has only led to the dismantling of the civil and voting rights acts. Waiting and hoping is not faith. Waiting and hoping leads to spiritual fatigue and despair. Faith in worship requires action. After being led out of Egypt, the Hebrews had to contend with the Red Sea that impeded their progress. So they immediately start to bemoan the state of their affairs and cry out to God for divine intervention. In Exodus 14 and 15, God responded to their reply to Moses' prayers, and he says, "Why are you crying instead of moving forward?" We wait because we expect others to be our saviors. God has empowered us to save ourselves. We must stop trying to get others to buy in and accept our vision and value the black dollar, the black community, and black people. We must start valuing ourselves and by stop promulgating our own oppression with inaction. We must stop paying for our own impression by spending our dollars where it's not respected. No one will do for you what you can do for yourselves. So the Apostle Paul tells Timothy in 1 Timothy 4:16, watch your life and doctrine closely. Persevere in them, because if you do, you will save both yourself and your hearers. In other words, reflect on your own life. Reflect on what you got going on to be sure that you're living a life worth living and following the word of God, and then push forward and stop waiting for God to come, because he has given you everything you need to be your own liberator. Lastly, Habakkuk teaches us that justice does not mean just us. Justice does not mean that equality under the law, equal opportunity, quality schools and healthcare, fair housing and policy are just for some. Jails aren't made just for us. The poor, hurting, and oppressed are not just us. In the universe, justice is a thread that holds it together. Laws give justice its binding power and the ability to maintain order. Therefore, the laws of nature hinges upon and are inseparable from justice. Equality, liberty, and social relationships are all unachievable and unmaintainable without justice. In the words of Sophocles, justice is the principles that the gods honor and what divinely governs the immutable, eternal, and infallible laws. America prides itself on being a country of law and order. But what is the law? Is the law to maintain the status quo? Is it justice if the laws are tyrannical? Because injustice requires acknowledgement and a response. Injustice requires us to monitor. It never causes, we should never go to sleep without watching and staying awake to identify and to sound the alarm of injustice. Not only must we sound the alarm of injustice, but we must mobilize the people into action. The church must ally with the oppressed in their fight for liberation and empowerment. We have watched the video and are familiar with this type of injustice. So one must ask, what are the righteous going to do? Will you fold your arms and just shake your head? Or will you bend your knees, bow your head, and just close your eyes in prayer and say prayer changes things? I remember going to a football game in high school. My baby brother was playing football against a rival school. The refs were calling everything against us. The ref was notorious for being against us. The coach got so mad that he screamed with anger and called his team from the field. He told the ref that we would not play another down until the injustice stopped. We must stop playing their game until the game changes. And the only way the game will change if we stop playing it. We must stop funding our own oppression by squandering our money on frivolous things that make us look and feel good, but doesn't change us anything for the good. We must stop playing the game by becoming an active participant in our own salvation. Lastly, don't be weary by what you're seeing, because the revolution and the truth is not televised. In other words, what God is doing something that the naked eye cannot see. Sometimes God must agitate us to incite us. When I was a child, we scratched and sniffed stickers because those individual stickers all had an individual aroma. Some smelled like cherries, some smelled like apples, some smelled like peaches, but you could only get the fragrance by scratching the sticker. In other words, you could not get what was in the sticker out without some agitation. And sometimes God has to shock our conscience to awaken our conscience, because it causes the righteous to ally with the oppressed in their fight for liberation and equality. I pray that you're blessed. I pray that you will stop waiting for things to change. I pray that you will forego that cliche of prayer changes things and put on the full armor of God and go to war to end all injustice. You all may be blessed.